Hi, welcome. I'm Miss Aker, and today I'm representing my school, Hale Cook Elementary, and just want to give a shout out to all the KCPS teachers and students out there and everyone else joining us in the Kansas City metro area. Let's get started with Just Know It. For Just Know It today, we are going to match the fraction with the decimal, and this is something I know you are going to know just like that. And over here on this side, we have decimals that we see in the real world all the time, money. I'm sure you've been saving up your money for a new toy or something cool that you want to buy. Here we go. So we have 55 out of 100. So we want to look here, 55 out of 100, 0.55. There we go, 83 out of 100ths. We're looking. Okay, this says 0.38, so that's 3/10 and 8/100ths, but this says 83, so 8/10 and 3/100ths, 80/10, excuse me. So here we go, right across the way. 38 100ths, okay, right up here. So that's like saying 38 pennies or 38 cents out of a whole dollar. 38 cents out of 100 cents is a dollar, and 6/10. Okay, so we have 0.6 here, but we also have 0.60. Well, how would we represent that in money? Would we put it like this, 0.6, or would we do it like this? You got it. We got it. Oh, and look, there was one down here, $5 and 0.5. Okay, we already got that one. Nice. It's time for Figure It Out. I have one here for you. Think about it. Genevieve has 75 cents. Why does 75 out of 100 equal 0.75 and not 75? Well, what do you know about place value? Think about it. When we have 75, what are the different parts of that number that we can break apart? So we know there's a 7 and we know there's a 5. They both have the same digits, but in this one we have 70 plus 5. Or another way of saying that is 7/10. You'll remember practicing place value from last week. And this one is 5 1s. But up here, this isn't the same as 70 or 7/10. This is in the tenths place. And we know that if Genevieve has 75 cents, we know that she has less than a dollar. So that's why 75 out of 100 or 75 cents out of 100 cents equals 0.75 and not 75. That would be a lot of money if she had that. Great work on figuring that out with me. And it is time for What's New Today. And we know we've entered a new phase of our work together where we're taking fractions and decimals and thinking about how they're the same and how a decimal is just another way to represent a fraction. We learned that last week. Here's our learning target for today. I can read, write, and identify decimals to the hundredths place. Well, let's break that down. And we have some numbers here, not numbers, we have some vocabulary here, decimal, decimal point, tenth, and hundredth. So let's go into that together. So I can read, okay, well, I know like reading is like from a book, so I'm just drawing a book there, little symbol to help me think about it. Write, okay, write, here's my pencil. Okay, and identify. So I'm just gonna draw some eyes because when I identify, I can see it and I know it. Decimals, so we know decimals are parts of a fraction, so it's like a numerator and denominator, but with a decimal point. So let's write an example like 0.3. To the hundredths place. Well, to the hundredths place, that might be, you might be thinking, okay, I could do that, but what other places would come before the hundredths place? Let's draw a quick place value chart to see what other place values we would be doing there. So we have ones, that's the whole number, and that's where the decimal point goes. And then we have tenths, and then we have hundredths. Always forget that D. Okay, so we're gonna be identifying decimals all the way up to the hundredths place. So that could include tenths and 100ths or hundredths. Grab your tools to do some mathematical thinking. Complete the fractions to represent the shaded part of the whole. Then write each fraction as a decimal. Okay, well this is something we definitely know how to do. How many are shaded? 2 out of 10ths. 2 out of 10. Let's do the next one. This one has it done for us. Let's count the total parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, let's look at this one. 10, 1 is not shaded, so it must be 9. And this one, 3 are shaded out of 10 total parts. We knew fractions just like that. But what we're working on today is writing an equivalent decimal to represent that. So we have a place value chart down here to help us with that. So let's look at this. So I can think of the tenths place right here. So there's no whole, so 0, decimal point, 2. Okay, got it. All right, so let's go to this one. Same thing, no 1, 0, decimal point, 5 tenths. Okay, here we go. 0, decimal point, 9 tenths. No hundredths and no thousandths. Let's do the next one. 0, decimal point, 3. Now something we could do is put as many zeros behind that as we wanted. We could say that's 300 thousandths, or we could say this is 90 hundredths. But since there's no zeros, we don't have to put the zeros there. We can just go to the farthest place value and stop there. So we say 5 tenths. In this instance, if we wanted to do that, we would say 90 hundredths, because that's the total number of place values we have represented there. Write a decimal and fraction for each shaded part. So we're just doing what we just did before. So we have 4 out of 10, so 4 tenths equals, if we think of that, 0, and then the tenths place, and then the hundredths place. So these are equal. Let's add our equal sign. Okay, look here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, I could have done it that way, or I could just go, oh, all but 1 is, so that's 9 out of 10 equals, same thing, 0.9, or we say 9 tenths. Here we go. We have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. 70 out of 100 equals, so look at this. This is where a lot of students get tripped up. So let's draw a little place value chart. Ones, decimal point, tenths, and hundredths. So a lot of students want to put the 70 over here, but look, we have to put each digit in a place value. So, and it has to be in the hundredths. So we say 0, 7, 0. So now we would read this as 70 hundredths, the same as what's written here. So this would equal 0.70, okay? And then here we go. All but 20 are shaded, so I know that's gonna be 80 out of 100. So use what we did up here. We're not gonna write 0.08 because that would be only 8 hundredths, okay? So we're gonna put each digit in a place value. So we have 0.80, 80 hundredths. Is 0.4 the same as 0.40? Explain. Well, let's draw a quick place value chart to help us. So this is a word problem. Read, think, draw, write. We do have some models here if we needed to use them, and we might come back to that. Let's think about it though. I'm thinking that a place value chart will really help me. Ones, put my decimal point, tenths. We know today's learning target is all about going up to 100, or the hundredths place, hundredths. Okay, I like to draw a line to keep them separate. So we're looking at 0.4 and 0.40. So let's write both of those in our place value chart. 0. Now look at the difference here. There's a 0 in this one, so that says 4 hundredths. But here, we don't have a placeholder there, so we just say 4 tenths. And we're trying to figure out if they're the same. They look very similar. However, in my mind, 40 seems bigger than 4. But we also need to look at the place value. So let's use these models to compare. So we have 4 out of 10. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to shade these 4, and I'm gonna represent that as 0.4 or 4/10. And over here, I'm gonna shade 40. So I'm gonna count by tens, 10, 20, 30, 40, and I'm gonna shade that amount. Now these grids are the same size whole, but this one has bigger pieces because it's in 10, and this one has smaller pieces. So this is equal to 0.40 or 40 out of 100. I'm thinking back to when we did our Just Know It last week, and we were proving that 4/10, for instance, could equal 40 out of 100ths. And one reason is because we made 10 times as many parts in the numerator, and that made us have 10 times as many total parts. And so we have just proved that 0.4 or 4/10 is in fact the same as 40 hundredths. It's just that each of the individual parts here in the 40 hundredths is going to be smaller than one of the individual parts in the tenths. I can tell you're getting the hang of it now with those decimals and fraction equivalencies. So for today's Try It, you're gonna use what you did with me during What's New to try it on your own, to tell me the shaded part of this whole as a fraction and a decimal. Same thing for this one, except it's a hundreds grid. And then I have a question for you. Is 0.2 the same as 0.02? And that's where that place value chart is gonna come in handy. Explain. And of course, you can always use a grid, a 10 grid or a 100 grid to help you. All right, thanks for doing some math with me today. Let's end with 2 firework high fives. Ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Ah. Ah. Hope you learned something new today. Thanks for watching.